My Twitter timeline is a total mess right now as freaking everyone is talking about the Smash Brothers rumor, which may not actually be that much of a rumor. Let me quickly explain what's going on here. So about a day or so ago, Kiwi Talks tweeted out 4 games they're looking forward to in the near future, including GTA 6 in November, another Metroid game on the horizon, Smash Brothers the next year or two, and another Zelda game and the movie in 2027. So this kind of flew under the radar for a day or so until Dexerto tweeted out that Kiwi Talks teased next Smash Brothers game in the next year or so, just a couple hours ago, which is when things really blew up, which then caused Kiwi Talks to clarify, seemingly, that people are misquoting me again. Nowhere in the tweet did I say any of these games are new. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but I was vague for good reason to protect devs. It could be new, it could be a spin-off, it could be a remaster, it could be something on NSO. Don't jump the gun and get ahead of yourselves. Okay, so Kiwi Talks is trying to run damage control here a little bit on their tweet, which has kind of got out of control at this point. I will say, I love Kiwi Talks. There's no way in hell he was talking about an NSO game, though. Like, that's clear from the context of that tweet. 0% chance that's the case. However, there is merit, obviously, to, I think, the rest of it, which is this Smash Brothers game, if it exists in the form that he's saying, coming in next year or two, it could take the form of any number of versions, I think. Like, I don't think that necessarily means it's an entirely new Smash Brothers game. It could be something else, like a Switch 2 edition of Smash Ultimate, or maybe what's effectively a broader version of that. That's still technically a new game, without being like, you know, a complete redesign. But before I go too deep myself, what are you guys thinking of this? What do you think this rumor has merit in the sense that, despite him kind of clarifying, do you think we can still be seeing a Smash game in the next year or two? And what would that look like?
I think we always see something Smash related early in a console's life. So I do
typically
think
within the first couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, so it could be big, it could be small. My personal thought on it is, like, I think Sakurai firmly believes Smash Ultimate is the ultimate 2D Smash style.
He said that multiple times, yeah. He's like, this is it. Like, we might not be able to do this again.
So I'm thinking a Switch 2 edition that tackles the biggest issue with Smash. And let me guess. Can you guys guess what the biggest issue with Smash is?
Online.
Yeah, it's online. It's online can be so atrocious because like we've seen what they're able to do now with stuff like Kirby Air Riders, which its netcode, while not perfect, leagues better than Smash Brothers. Obviously, they're different beasts, but just the technology behind Nintendo's network has evolved so much over the years. That came out early in the Switch's life, before like their new netcode stuff was even really being developed. So if they were able to redo that and add rollback, that would,
dare we say,
like I like, dare we say, like, they had rollback, that could literally be a game changer, because a lot of people don't commit to the online because of how haphazard it is. You can have some good matches, but then you're going to get a bunch of like really painful, it's like not even worth it matches. It's still a great local game,
or like pingful matches.
But yeah,
all right, so you
right,
think that could be the case? You're leaning toward the Switch 2 edition then, John, in the next year or two?
But I also think,
hate this guy.
but I also think I think Sakurai is a workaholic. I think he is probably working on the next new Smash, but I think that one's going to take some time, because what I think is he's going to try something new, really different, and that.
But then, okay, but at this, then you're now talking about a whole different game that this rumor's talking about at this point.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm just saying like Sakurai is probably at the helm of that. I bet you there's someone else at the helm at this this one, and that's why it's going to come out within the year. And that's because Ultimate's a massive game. Yeah. Like, why would we like need a new Smash Brothers when Ultimate still covers so much? And like, its biggest fault is literally just it's online. And if they can fix that, that's a huge win for that game.
Zach, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, when you bring up the veracity of this rumor, I think it depends on what exactly it's going into. If this was talking, which Kiwi Talks does eventually clarify that he didn't say he's talking about a brand new Smash, but if he was talking about a brand new Smash, I think there's no way it's real. I think we're still a little ways away from a brand new Smash. I think Sakurai is hard at work on that, and I don't think that he wanted to juggle it with Kirby Air Ride. So now that Kirby Air Ride's done, I'm sure he is hard at work on a brand new Smash, but whatever this rumor is talking about, I don't think that it is related to that per se, at least in the context of coming next year.
Yeah, Well, within the next year or two, again to clarify, which does kind of like expand the range of what this could be. But either way, I still think anyone expecting a new Smash Brothers game on the caliber of Ultimate within the next 2 years from the point of development ending for Kirby Air Riders, I think you're setting yourself up for disappointment at that point. I just don't see it. The only way I can see it, I mean, I say that, but there are 3 ways in which I can see it. Here are the 3 ways I can see it. One, it's a Switch 2 edition, as we've already talked about. I think that's a possibility, although I will say I don't know if that's the most likely one at this point, just because I feel like Ultimate's, I don't want to say long in the tooth, but I think people are ready to move on. I don't think that'd be a huge... I don't think that'd be a huge deal for a lot of people. I mean, it would still sell well, obviously, especially if they, add things to it. I think the more likely option, moving past that to number 2, is they use Ultimate as a base to build what's effectively a new game, but still very much powered by Ultimate. Basically the same cast, same character, or same stages. They add enough new modes, enough new characters on top of it that they can basically brand as a whole new experience without technically being a new game. I would say basically like what Wii U was to Ultimate. They were effectively the same game. I know they changed a lot, don't get me wrong, but like a lot of Wii U still in Ultimate very clearly. I think it's impossible for us to get a game a la Melee or Brawl or even Wii U within a 2.5-year time span effectively, from Kirby Air Riders ending. I don't see it. If they do, the only way that happens with my third option, it's something entirely new. Like they're either reimagining from the ground up with a much smaller cast, or it's a totally different spin-off. John, I think it sounds like you have an idea based off this.
Oh yeah, I've long wished for the idea of like, because I think Sakurai talked about it himself, is like he was experimenting with 3D combat, like, and I think.
Wait, when did he say this?
I swear it was like during one of his interviews, like they were trying to like, maybe he just had an idea for it. I remembered somewhere, could be wrong, but
I mean, so was it a recent thing or like we're talking in the past?
Oh, past.
Okay, got it, okay.
It was like probably during like the Smash Ultimate discussions, and I think when he talks about something like that, I think that's him being like, okay, that's my next one I'm going to work on. Like that, like that's what he does. He like mentions an idea, then it becomes a new game down the road.
Right.
Yeah, so I would love that. I want a mix up. I think that would be such, and if it's done well, if it's done right, that could be awesome. Because hey, I love Power Stone, but if like Smash Brothers can take that and make it into its own Smash energy, that would be insane. That would be that would bring so many new strategies, but it would have to be done right. And I'm sure Sakurai would workshop the heck out of it.
Would you want that, Zach? Something along those lines, like a whole different type of thing for Smash Next, or do you think they'll stay true to what we know Smash to be?
It's scary.
I would want it to stay close to what we know. I would want them to iterate on it. I feel like Smash Ultimate left us in a spot of when you think about kind of Smash as it's looked at competitively, it's like right at the fork in the road. It's right at the crossroads right now of. I think Ultimate is the most tailored to a competitive Smash experience. It is the most like other fighting games than any other Smash. You can tell that was an element going into it. You can tell by the characters they put in, like Terry.
It's Street Fighter characters are basically just normal fighting game characters.
Exactly. Like, and they're putting in like installs and custom command inputs and things like that. So you could tell Sakurai loves fighting games, and you could tell that he put a lot of fighting game into this. I think they're at a crossroads right now of if the next Smash. If they want to lean more into that fighting game scene, I think they're going to come out with something that is very, very polished and streamlined of everything we know in Smash. Maybe giving something like supers, like similar to Final Smashes, but make it more like other fighting games where it builds up over the match and there's kind of a strategic element to it. I think you either go further in on making the mechanics bigger, or you blow it all up and you go 3D, or you go some crazy in between, maybe like throw in an element similar to something like Smash Run, or one of the other kind of side-scrolling elements, and you completely flip it on its head and say, hey, like, remember, this is a party game at the end of the day. And that will be the new game in the series.
See, that's what I would love to see myself. Like, I've played so many Smash Brothers games at this point, it's like, I would love to see a fresh take on the idea, like, with all these different characters coming together, like, what else can you do with that? Like, I've played, 5 installments now of what's effectively the same game, and there's been some great evolution there, but I feel like they've also kind of, like, like plateaued with it a bit. You know, again, Wii U to Smash was, or Wii U to Ultimate was probably the most narrow gap in terms of difference in game feel that we've seen so far, and I wonder like how much more can they really push it. And that might be why Ultimate was Ultimate. It's like, here's the ultimate form of this version of the game, now we can do something different. And whether or not they actually do, I don't know. I would love if they did. But there's one other possibility we haven't mentioned, and maybe it kind of speaks to how much how much both us and maybe even Sakurai himself ascribe themselves as being responsible for the series. Like, there is a chance that this game's been in development under someone else's leadership. And maybe it's ready, maybe it will be ready in a year or two if it started years ago. Is there a chance that's the case?
Not this
I think
time.
there's a small chance if it's that Bandai Namco team that they've been working with. If that's maybe this was the test drive of Sakurai handing the keys over. Maybe because this could be something where if people end up not liking it, then you could just say, well, it wasn't Sakurai that worked on it. It was, this Bandai Namco team. And but if it does take off, then boom, you have your next pivot, you have your next vertical for Smash. And you probably have your next multi-million-dollar seller for Nintendo.
Yeah. I mean,
I personally don't think it's there yet. I think that Nintendo still has a high value of what Sakurai. I think it's more Nintendo than Sakurai. I think Nintendo's like, we can't have this without you, man. Like, but I feel like it's getting there because it does seem like Nintendo's on this kind of like passing on the torch vibe. So maybe not, but I don't think it's there yet, personally.
Counterpoint, Sakurai will outlove us all, so... yeah, I don't think they're there yet either. I mean, especially with just how things have gone so far, like Sakurai, hopping into Kirby Air Riders, and then, on a pretty tight development schedule, which I wonder if there wasn't a reason for that, so he could then move immediately back into Smash, which seems like it would make sense. But getting back to like what else it could be, I mean, the more I think about this, the more I have trouble envisioning it as a Switch 2 edition, just because for whatever reason it does not feel like the right fit for this series. But I can still see like an expanded essentially an expanded port of it branded as its own thing. Either way, one of the points you brought up, John, is they need to fix the online. I definitely agree with that, because honestly, part of the reason why I don't play Smash much these days is the online is almost worthless to me because it feels so much worse than playing local. Even on the best connections, like that, just a small amount of latency just ruins it for me. It's like, I only want to play this game then if I'm hanging out with friends in person, which, one, is harder to do in real life, and two, when we often are hanging out, we're always not playing games, let alone Smash Brothers specifically. So if they fix the online, though, that could bring me back, or would definitely get me more engaged with it. But then, and I'm sure I'm not the only one on that, but also, though, from what I've read, in order to make Smash like rollback code dependent, which I think is what they'd have to do to make Smash truly work well online, it basically requires a from the ground up rethinking of Smash. Like, it has being integrated into it from the get-go rather than being patched in afterward, which is why I'm less inclined to think a Switch 2 edition would fix that. And I don't know, like, would a Switch 2 edition even have enough marketability without that fix, And that's again another reason why I think, again, they probably want to do the Switch 2 edition, because yeah, for me, I just need good online, and it's like I've sat through enough bad online Smash. We are owed a good one at this point, and I'm hoping that whatever form that is, that they deliver on that front with the next one. And and honestly, for me, if it's not here in the next 2 years, I'm okay with that. Take your time with it. Just I'm fine waiting another 3-4 years if need be. I know some people will go insane if that's the case, but I'm good holding off if it means we're going to get a better game in the end, or a more different game in the end.
And I mean, and Smash Brothers Melee is bound to come. It's bound to come.
That is the thing I was going to say is, and I'm talking 1%, maybe even less than 1% chance of this. But if they were going to do something that wasn't a new Smash and wasn't a Switch 2 edition, the thing in my mind that makes the most sense is similar to how Pokemon brought Fire Red and Leaf Green not to the NSO, but specifically to the eShop. I could see an eShop version of Melee with true dedicated online, and maybe this is the guinea pig exactly for online. Maybe if they integrate rollback netcode into this Melee port and it works out, then boom, you have your rollback netcode formula for the next Smash, whatever that may be. other than that, that's kind of the only other thing I could see. I think regular Smash 64 is going to come to NSO. I don't think that would be released separately. We even had a while back that image leak that showed like,
Nintendo leaked it
blurred
themselves
out.
in a direct by
Yeah.
mistake. Yeah.
Oh, it's
Exactly. So it has to be coming eventually. But Melee is one I could see them give maybe a little bit special treatment just because of the way fans of Melee hold that game. Maybe too high a standard in some regards.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, that's.
Yeah.
But if they wanted to go down that route, I think that is kind of the way you would do it. That you would bring it totally separate, make sure it's all polished so that nobody can complain, nobody can say, "Oh, we have to play online using the NSO's online," which is basically game share. Actually, when you really think about it,
Like
that's
a
bound
more
to have-
advanced game share. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, those are all good points. I mean, I think I think your estimate of 1% is probably accurate, but if it were to happen of Smash, it would be probably Melee that would get that treatment. But yeah, for whatever reason, it is difficult for me to even envision them even doing that. Like, I feel like Smash is always want to move on to the next thing. Which in this case, for me personally, again, I'm really hoping like my dream game, and I'll look forward to whatever version it ends up being, ideally. Or hopefully, but I really want something new from them. I would love to see like whether it's 3D Smash, a la Power Stone, or just some different take on the 2D spectrum, which I don't even know what that would be, but that's the fun part of it. Like maybe they are doing something new, or even honestly at the least just reimagining the movesets, at least for like the oldest characters. Like they feel so dated for me. But unfortunately, Sakurai's been on the record of saying something like, I forget what it is, so I don't want to misquote him, but something to the effect of like people now expect Mario to be like Mario in Smash rather than Mario like in the series. It's like, man, the whole point of Smash was to have them from the series, originally. So now that Smash is kind of turning its own thing, it's kind of like broken that paradigm to a degree.
I want to see DK Bonanza inspired DK, because that would be fire.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I would love to see these more recent incarnations of these characters rather than ones based on like 25-year-old games that have not been relevant in forever. Like no one's using Flood. Mario's never gonna use Flood again, probably, right? Like Flood's relegated to an Easter egg on the wall in Mario Galaxy movie. That's it at this point.
Oh, don't do that to me. Flood's my boy.
Yeah, but like but yeah, I think they could they could reimagine all those old characters to like effectively be new characters.
Yeah, that would be my number one thing I want in the next Smash is all of the love and care that was put into all of those DLC fighters and having their own unique gimmicks that felt like both straight from their game but also fit into Smash. I would love to see that brought into the next Smash for the base roster. Seeing a very modern new take on Mario, Donkey Kong. If we get a new Star Fox game, maybe see something from that with Fox. See more things from Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild than just the remote bomb with Link. Yeah, I think you totally overhaul those base characters. I think you slim down the roster. I know everybody loved that Ultimate was everyone was here, and I think it worked for Ultimate, but I think you can trim it down for the next Smash and really put out these like really carefully crafted movesets for characters that are of that same quality of all the DLC characters that we got at the end of Ultimate.
So I could see that's like another 1% idea. A company like NST, who are known to kind of make like their own things, making like building off the framework of Smash Run and making a Smash 99.
Like,
I would be in on that. I would be in that. I actually really liked Smash Run. It is a shame that Smash Run was limited just to the 3DS, because I think it's so Super Smash Bros. When I think of Super Smash Bros, like you think of Subspace Emissary in Brawl, but it really Smash Run and Subspace Emissary really hammer home that the platform fighter that Smash is emphasis on the platform. You, for all intents and purposes, during Subspace Emissary and during Smash Run, you are playing a platformer. You are going through a giant platforming kind of maze, almost a Metroidvania style. I know it's modeled after the Great Cave Offensive from Kirby Superstar, I believe is what it's overall modeled after. But you are going through a Metroidvania style map where you're building out the map as you go, going along. And those truly felt like a single player. It made Smash feel like, something that could be enjoyed for single player. You didn't have to always be playing multiplayer or online with your friends. You could enjoy the history of every single one of these characters and all these franchises in a mode that was contained just to that. All the enemies they put in there, just incredible. Every enemy from every series, even ones, they had like Dig Dug in there. Dig Dug's not a character in Smash, but like, they're representing the Namco brand. They just threw everything in there, and I would love to see them do it again.
Yeah, I would love that.
Smash Run was I think it was a great idea because it was City Trial combined with Smash, but they missed out for me on having everyone in the same environment at the same time, so they could bridge that gap for the next one and do something really interesting, like a Smash Brothers 99 or something, whatever it is. I think there's potential in that idea. You can't have obviously all 99 players in the same arena at once, but I think there is like something you could do there where you have like players crisscrossing across their different pathways, like maybe meeting in the middle for a brief fight before continuing on to a different group of people. Whatever it is, I mean, I think there's so much more potential in Smash than what we've seen. But I know some people just, want Ultimate, but more, and, that's fine for them. But for me, it's like, oh, come on, give me something different, something new, even if it's in the form of, like, vastly new modes that I would want to play. I know they always added a lot of new modes to each Smash Brothers game, but like, most of them feel kind of half-baked. Like that, the board game from Smash Brothers Wii U sounded awesome on paper, not so much fun to play in person, And so I would love they experiment a little bit more, though, with like a major new focus. Something along the lines of like Subspace Emissary. Like put that level of attention into whatever this new mode is, if not the entire game reimagined. That being said, do you have any other personal hopes, either mode-wise or otherwise, or character-wise even, before we wrap things up here? Like newcomers,
newcomers, I could go all day. But we'll leave that for later. I think my hope, there's two things in my hope. One, I genuinely do hope that we get a Smash Ultimate Switch 2 edition. And what we just talked about, that Smash Run kind of style mode, I think that's exactly how you do it. That's the big, that's your plus Bella Bell Park for Smash. It's going to be Smash Ultimate plus Smash Run
99.
Deluxe or whatever. Because that's a brand new mode. It makes it, feel like it's worth that $10. You don't have to add new characters. No matter what we get, if we get a new Smash Ultimate Switch 2 edition, I don't think we're getting new characters. I think they were pretty content with the way they ended it with Sora. I think the best we'll get is new Mii costumes and maybe Echo Fighters. There were a couple of Echo Fighters it feels like they could have put in. But as far as brand new characters, I think that will be reserved only for a new game. But my overall hope, I would say, is Super Mario Kart World kind of has a it's thrown me off a little bit because 8 Deluxe was so well done, and it was essentially the Smash Ultimate of Mario Kart. And then they did shake up the formula with Mario Kart World, but it's been a mixed reception, and it feels like we're not quite seeing it fully. So if we get a new Smash, if they're going to shake up the formula, I hope it's done in a little bit better way than we've seen from Mario Kart World so far. Like really lean into it.
Like that. Well, see, that's interesting. That's an interesting perspective because, like, for me, they did lean into it. Like, much why Mario Kart World. I mean, maybe I'm misunderstanding you. Like, they did make it feel very different. For me, at least compared to like prior installments up to between Double Dash and that. And I think that's why it is divisive, because it's not more Mario Kart 8. It's like very much its own thing. And like I would love, for me, it's like you say that, I'm like, that's what I want Smash Brothers to do. Like I want the new Smash Brothers to be as different as Mario Kart World was to the prior installments. Like that to me sounds perfect. And like anything less than that, I feel like would be what I don't want. It's like I don't want them to stick so close to Smash, which I think is probably what they're going to do. Just because it seems like the safest option at this point. But it's like I want that mix up, especially as we've been playing Ultimate since what, 2018? Is that right?
Yeah, 2018, I believe.
Yeah, so I mean, we're not all that far from its 10-year anniversary at this point. So,
yeah, I'm definitely on Andre's perspective. I want something new, and I want something bold. It could be reworked characters, it could be something. I just want them to really embrace the new era of Smash. I think it's time.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, guys. Any final thoughts at all, whether about the rumor itself, which may or may not be true? Like, we have no, like, it could be that 2 years go by, nothing Smash related happens at all. We just don't know for sure. Like, that's a pretty big time span, and things can get delayed even, assuming there's anything much in development right now. Though I'm sure, regardless, there is something. I'm sure something's happening. We just don't know to what degree. But any final thoughts at all about anything?
The way that this rumor has blown up, I mean, this is one, to me at least, this is one of the more benign rumors I've seen like in a while. And the way that it's blown up, taken over the whole world, tells me just how hungry Nintendo fans are right now. Not just for Smash, but in general. So maybe we'll get a direct before June. Maybe we'll get a direct in June. But all I know is that the way this is blown up tells me that Nintendo fans are very hungry for news right now.
That's exactly it. Like I honestly ignored this initially. Like, you know, I replied to the initial tweet within the first hour or so, I think, and then I saw it blowing up today, and I still kind of put it aside. But then when I saw how big it was, I'm like, we have to talk about this. There's like a hunger or thirst for a new Smash Brothers game, or at least news from Nintendo in general right now, which of course Smash would feed directly into that even more so. And I'm like, we gotta talk about this. So whether or not, you know, whether or not we will see exactly what this ends up being soon or not, I don't know. Based on how Nintendo likes to market games these days, you know, relatively close to release, we may not, assuming it is coming out within 2 years, we may not see it for 18 months, you know. Maybe next year, June at the earliest, but, you know, given the 1 or 2 years, it could be sooner. If it's a Switch 2 edition, we could be seeing it around the corner, you know. We just don't know. We don't know anything about it. Again, even Kiwi talks, we kind of like rolled back, you know, or, you know, clarify that this rumor is not really much of one. Ah, yes, exactly. That's what we need. One more quick one I was going to say too. I will say too, maybe it's just me. I think Smash Ultimate's a very good looking game. It's still very clearly a Switch game. And I don't know about Switch 2 Edition itself, like if they could even make it look good enough to like warrant that branding. Maybe they could. I guess, you know, Mario Wonder didn't look especially amazing either on Switch 2, you know, compared to before. So, but I guess my point more is like when I play Smash on Switch 2, I want it to look like an upgrade. You know, I want it to look like, oh, this is very clearly a step up. Like, or here's a good thing they could maybe add if it would support it: 120 frames per second. You know, for TVs that support, that'd be huge, right? 120 frames per second. You know, get you know, 8-player Smash, 16-player Smash, double it. I don't know. I don't think it's even possible, but hey, I'm there for it. So, anyways, I'm out of ideas at this point. I mean, I've got tons more ideas, but realistically, for what we're talking about right now, I'm tapped. Anything else, guys, or is that it?
That's it for me. Just. Something's coming. Probably it's a safe. It's.
Like, I mean, it's like the safest bet in the world to say there'll be a Smash in the next 2 years, because we're already almost a year into the Switch 2's release schedule anyway. So that's a 3-year gap in which Smash has historically always appeared. I think, including even maybe the first one. I think if you count the Japanese release from the 64's launch, I could be mistaken on that, but yeah. But here's the thing, real quick. I did want to wrap up, like, the reason why I'm thinking this isn't going to be a full-blown, whole-on sequel, assuming this rumor is accurate the next 2 years, because Ultimate, I believe, was in development for 2 years and 9 months, and that was already, again, largely based on Wii U. So it's like, could they really get out another true successor in a time span that would be at best matching that, and very likely less than that window? I don't know, but, you know, Sakurai's surprised me before. I'm sure he'll surprise me again. So who knows at this point?
Yeah, that's one thing we've learned over the years. Never underestimate Masahiro Sakurai, because he has shown why he's one of the best to ever do it.
Assuming he's doing it even, which he probably is, but yep.
Great point.
All right, we're gonna wrap up there, everyone. So yeah, Smash hype is somehow already in full effect without any actual, like, legit rumblings at this point. So we'll have to wait and see what actually happens here. In any case, everyone, thank you for watching. Let us know in the comments below what you think of this. What do you make of this, you know, possible rumor, and what do you think is likely outcome for what the Smash game may end up being? We'd love to hear your thoughts. With that, we'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.